faith is not the same for everyone. We all experience it differently, and we all require different factors to make it real. Looking at the Gospel of John, the two first disciples in chapter 1 just need to spend a day with Jesus, and they are convinced he is the Messiah. For John the Baptist, he was informed directly by God. Nathanael believes when he is told something by Jesus that a normal person could never have known. Some disciples are convinced when they see Jesus do a miracle, some just by being around him. Nicodemus is swayed by a theological argument that stems from the evidence of miracles. The Samaritan woman in John 4, the woman at the well, she knows nothing of the miracles, but is convinced when Jesus seems to know her thoughts and about her life. All these forms are legitimate roads to faith and expressions of faith. Some need evidentiary proof, and that's fine. Others are persuaded when unknowable knowledge is told, and still others just need to be around Jesus, and his character is clear to them. All cases, however, show us that faith is truly based in evidence. Faith is not blind. The first disciples spend a day talking with him, and on the basis of that evidence, they are convinced Jesus is the Messiah. John the Baptist has the evidence of signs from heaven. Both Nathanael and the woman at the well have the evidence of what Jesus has said to them. The servants and disciples at the wedding of Cana in John 2 have the evidence of the miracle. See, faith is making an assumption of truth based on enough evidence to make it reasonable to hold that assumption. All of these people get evidence before they are expected to believe. And as you think about it, and if you look back, it's really no different from Abraham, Moses, or Paul. They all had evidence before they were expected to believe. In the text I want to look at today, which is John chapter 4, verses 43 to 54, Jesus leaves the Samaritan woman and heads to Galilee. Now the Galileans are excited to see him, and they welcome him, because the text said they had seen what he had done in Jerusalem. See, evidence. Then Jesus goes specifically to Cana, where he had turned the water into wine, evidence, and a certain royal official approaches Jesus because his son was sick. No doubt he came to Jesus because he knew something of Jesus' reputation as a miracle worker and as a healer, evidence. He begged Jesus to heal his son, who was close to death. He obviously had a reason Jesus might have the capability to do this. He had at least some evidence to make this assumption. He begs Jesus to come to his house to heal his son, and this is where the real test comes. Because Jesus replied, "You may go. Your son will live." Now the man's in a real dilemma. Should he just leave and assume it is so? But if he stays, he would insult the man he was asking for help and possibly give up any chance of healing. The man lives about 25 miles away from where he is. He has no cell phone. He either has to confront Jesus for more evidence, based on the evidence he already has that Jesus is a healer, or to do something else for him to convince him, like Gideon would with his fleece, or he has to walk away, either in sorrow or faith, based on the evidence that motivated him to come to Jesus in the first place. Now, verse 50 of John 4 is remarkable. It says, "The man took Jesus at his word and departed." See, he acted on the evidence he had, even though he didn't have evidence for this particular miracle. Yes, people believe based on evidence, But it's not always physical evidence that's available. Sometimes it's the evidence of our knowledge of past events. And sometimes physical evidence isn't necessary. Jesus' nature and his authority and identity were perceivable even without scientific evidence. He believed Jesus was a man of God because he had reason to believe that, because he had evidence to that end, and he acted on that evidence. Interestingly, some of the man's servants met him shortly afterwards while he was on the road back to his home, telling him his son was healed. Evidence. So the man approached Jesus because there was evidence of Jesus as a miracle worker and healer. Then there is evidence at the end to confirm Jesus' word and power were effective. But in the middle, the man has to take Jesus at his word. But he could take Jesus at his word because of the growing body of evidence that Jesus was putting out that could lead people to believe. Now, did everyone believe? Not even close. Faith is grounded in evidence. There is no blind faith. But the evidence doesn't convince everybody. Some contrive other reasons for what is happening. As Paul says, deliberately closing their minds to the truth that's right in front of them. Jesus' miracles convince some people, but not others. Jesus' person convinces some people, but not others. The difference is not in the evidence or in Jesus' revelation of himself, but more in the state of heart and mind of the observer. To state two extremes, some people won't even believe if someone rises from the dead, where others will believe in what seems the simplest of circumstances, the faith of a child. Yes, faith is grounded in authentication, but it is also a passion of the heart. Faith is an uncomfortable tension between evidence, reality, and intuitions, where your heart and mind are. But there is really, truly only one reason to believe anything: because it's true.